it's relatively quiet. Every time you turn on the camera, wherever you are in the world, the weirdest and most absurd things start to happen, either with video, somebody in the background, or like with sound. It's just, get ready for that.
Everything requires patience in filmmaking.
Yeah.
And patience is a golden currency. Well, I think it's a tricky one because you have the script ready, and then it's like, I think the trickiest part of pre-production is getting the actor's schedule and the location schedule in sync. Crew should be available, not all the time. So getting them in sync as well, you can't forget about that. It's going to be difficult, as well as organizing catering, toilets, all of those key utilities and essentials that people need on a set. Nothing's ever secure
And concrete, yeah.
and concrete. You need to be adaptable, ready to change, and ready to face what challenges come your way, because not everything goes the way you want, and you need to be in a good mindset to be able, and that is filmmaking in a nutshell, really. Like when you're on set and on production, it's just like problem. How are you gonna deal with it? I mean, you must have had loads of problems in your film.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of the problems on my film came from the pre-production side of, like, for example, my storyboard. I had started doing the storyboard, and it was about 45 slides. So it was around the first 15-25 minutes of the film. And if I had the whole thing mapped out, I could have saved a lot of time. And it just shows you, like, in pre-production, you have to really not be lazy and spend the time to finish every step. And that's why if you ever look at getting a grant from any government out there, they will require so much things from you that people just give up, because they know that to have a successful film, especially one that's, you know, financed by backers and things like that, you need to have everything possible. And if you have never done a film before, that can be very daunting, but you just have to go through the paperwork of requirements. Like, this is a good idea to do, go through what a grant would require you to get, and go through each one and research them and then learn them.
Well, on the contrary, I think there's a good way to do it without grants.
Yeah.
You know, like, just do it even without storyboards. Like, my film, I didn't storyboard any scene, and then on the morning of the shoot, that's when I'd storyboard, and I'd just quickly draw some drawings in the book, like really rough drawings of what I want, and then anything else is a bonus. And that's how I approached it, and it worked well, and it allowed me to, at least, I felt a little bit more free on the set to, like, find shots that, you know, I wouldn't think of in the first place. So I think there's a benefit there. Although there are shots which I was adamant on having, and because there was no storyboard, I completely forgot on the day to get them. Like the scene where Pete and Julia are there and it's just quiet and he's marking a paper. I wanted to get it from the side, right? And that was, like, adamant in my original vision, and I think we were very focused on, like, okay, it's golden hour, let's do this one shot. But then, like, we forgot, so we had to do it. And then I completely forgot to get the shot from the side. So the only usable shot is the shot of Pete,
which is like the B shot. Which is like the B shot in your head. That would have been
the B shot. But like, originally I just wanted to hold on to the shot, and I don't know why I chose that shot as opposed to the shot on the side. And so that baffled me in post, where I was like, wow, what the hell? Like, I didn't get the other shot, even though, like, I wrote the script with that in mind, and I mean, yeah, that's why like having some form of plan before the day definitely helps. But there are also merits to not having it completely planned out. And I think what I'm going to do for the next film from this is storyboard the images and shots that I am adamant on having, and making sure that by the end of the shoot, they're all ticked off. But all of the other shots in between, I'm not going to bother with. I'll just see what happens on the day and see what we can get.
Yeah, because you only have a limited amount of time. So obviously it'd be amazing to have everything ready and prepped and ready to go. The issue is you never have enough time or willpower or manpower in those types of like micro budgets to be able to do all that. So it could be good to just focus on what's absolutely necessary and give you that little space of wiggle to be able to experiment. Because also, even if you have everything planned, like my initial shot for my film Dante's Inferno, we never ended up getting the opening shot. And that sounds crazy, right? Like, how can you forget the opening shot? It was just a simple setup on the side of the car. It just, so many things happen while you're in there. There's no printed, like, that part was storyboarded, that part was prepared, that part was discussed. But on the day, suddenly the camera ended up somewhere else on the car. And that's the shot I got.
And it's tricky because, like, as we were saying, like on the day, like on the screenwriting video, it's like there's so many things going on that everything that you have in mind just goes out the window because it's problem. Address this. Okay, what about this? Can you? And then you spend time with the actors, and so even down to storyboards, you forget the script, like so you're just like on the beginning of the day you're looking at the script like what the hell did we write, what are we doing, and then on top of that the storyboards as well, where it's like oh shit, what are we doing? Okay, maybe we don't need this, but we can keep that one, etc. So there's like, and I think that's the thing where I think the whole pre-plan for like government bursaries is a bit outrageous because it's very detached from the actual nature of filmmaking. Because in the perfect world, it would be on schedule 24/7, everything would go a specific way, and that's just never going to happen on film. There's that beautiful element of chaos that you just have to embrace and ride the wave with, and you may end up in a ditch. You may end up somewhere better, like a 5-star palace with catering. Oh yeah, being a good producer on an indie film. I feel like a indie micro budget, shoestring budget film, like the gloves are off.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is the producer doing? Like, you know, if it's a weekend shoot, and it's like your actors and your cast and crew can only shoot on the weekends because they have jobs Monday to Friday. Like that's a completely different beast of a production compared to like our productions where we allocated, okay, you're gone for 5 weeks, make sure the world doesn't miss you.
Yeah. It's very difficult.
It's very situational as well, and it's a lot about knowing what you want, what they want, and making sure that, like, as if it's a Venn diagram, making sure you're always meeting at that middle and at that sweet spot.
So, I guess you could say that a good producer is someone who can juggle a lot of things at once, because in a pre-production state, I think, like when we were working on your film and pre-producing that, we had to like handle so many things at once, as you said, work out casting, actors, locations, all that, and juggle all that at the same time. A good producer would be someone who's able to handle all that with the ultimate goal in mind and the final idea of what the film is supposed to be.
And that's why, like, in a lot of these situations, the directors end up being producers as well as everything else. The thriftiness of the production that you're filming has to be on point.
Yeah.
When all comes at a lot of different locations, so there was a lot of money spent on locations, equipment and everything I owned. It was a lot of the budget came from or went towards food, transport,
and then a lot of the budget comes after in post-production as well. But if you want to get the film shot and ready in packed and ready to go, just like Spike Lee did with his first feature-length film, and he did it at the time for $20,000, if I believe, you need to, just like with your film, work out how much everything is going to cost, and then before the shoot, and that's it. So if you can purchase everything beforehand, you know you're not going to go over anything. It was different with your film because locations came in way early.
But then it's also locations and actors. We managed to agree on a set date, and then I had to allocate time at the location to do set design, and that meant buying props, buying a lot of things to do set design with. Equipment and stuff we owned, but we had to buy some equipment like the Road Goes and but you know,
I think the major costs that end up surprising you are food and transport, and these are the two things you often offer for free. If somebody works for free, you offer food.
It's the least you can do.
And transport. It's the least you can do.
That's you have to do that.
But when you have 15 people, it racks up quite quickly, and then you compare that to the cost of some props or some other things, and you realize, well, I did especially, that maybe my focus when I was working out the budget with everything I needed was completely, you know, I checked the numbers and I was like, oh, well, my whole prop list has the budget of 5,000. That's equipment, everything, all that was 5,000 around, and then suddenly food, calculating like the real cost for someone to eat twice a day, a good meal, but made by a cook, all that, it went up above 10,000, and I was just realizing, oh my God, every day that you shoot costs so much money. And I understand some people might want to like say, oh, we'll do it for this budget because it's fine, we'll film it in 3 days. But I wouldn't advise that, because I was very happy with filming for 6 weeks, and I think you were probably unhappy with filming for such a short period of time.
It was, dude, like if I could spend like, so it was like a day for us. No, some days we had to shoot 5 or 6 scenes in a day, and that's like, I wouldn't advise anyone to do that. Because it's just not enough time.
So when producing versus your budget, you should always account, I'd say, as an advice, for days where you mess up. So whatever you think, oh, we can do it in 6 weeks for that amount of money, it's no, you need at least for each location an extra day on top of that for reshoots or
and we
fixing
did,
something.
but the thing is, on my film, we did do that. We had one extra day at the end of that week for the university. But by that time, we had so many scenes that we had to reshoot. That and so many scenes that we missed and didn't film that, you know, we had to squeeze it all into that day, as well as packing up the whole place, that took a long time. And so, it's very difficult. And 2 days would have been beautiful, but you know, even the people at that location were lovely, because as Anglo education, and they were absolutely lovely and really, you know, was it accommodating. I forgot the A. They were very accommodating, and agreed to, like, you know, extend the days for us to shoot, you know, an extra 2 hours at the end of the day. Obviously that costed more. So the budget goes up as you're shooting, and it's like, okay, well, that planned allocated budget doesn't go. We had a lot of location dropouts. So
losing money, having then to, like, you know, the money you can only recuperate it later, so therefore you have to advance money for things that you need right now. Something breaks, well, you better go and get a new one or rent one. It's a lot of unforeseen costs.
Down to equipment, like we were doing audio on a Zoom H6, and we had the Rode NTG 4 Plus that I bought, and that didn't work because the battery on it it wouldn't charge, and so we ended up using phantom power for it. And then my soundy Shayla, she was like, I have an NTG too, but that doesn't have a an inbuilt battery either. But I had to send my Rode off to get fixed. Obviously, it wasn't going to get fixed beforehand, and I ended up getting the microphone a year later from using the warranty because COVID blocked up everything. So we shot Zoom H6 on the Rode NTG2, and that just 8 batteries, AA batteries, like nobody's
tomorrow.
Yeah, no tomorrow. And so a lot of money was spent on batteries as well.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it's silly things, but they just rack up and rack up and rack up.
Yeah.
Whatever you think the budget is, you're wrong. You're wrong. Everybody loves to sell the dream, the pipe dream that I'm making this film for this much. And I can guarantee anybody out there who's ever tried to make a film knows that whatever budget they say, oh yeah, I made that film for that much, and everybody's like, wow, how did you do this film for that much? You ask them how much they planned to do it for, and then so it's you have to allocate a lot of funds that you don't touch for those emergencies and those unforeseen events.
There's always exceptions to the rule, though. There's going to be like some filmmakers who are like, yeah, we shot it for half the budget.
Yeah, true.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah, good for you. But I think in the position where you are depends a lot as well. If you're newbies and you're just running around like headless chickens trying to figure out, which wire to entangle first, you're gonna stub your toes a lot along the way, and these will cause mistakes, and mistakes flow through the whole production down and end up costing money, because time is money on a film set.
How much are you spending on post-production?
I'll spend a lot less money on post-production than pre-production, but I know of projects that spend a lot more on post-production than pre-production. It depends how much you got in the can, and it depends
the quality of what you get in the can.
Exactly, and how much you need to retouch, color grade, adjust sound, and how much of the things you do yourself. And I'm planning to do everything myself, which cuts costs a lot. So I'll do everything by myself to cut costs. What about you? What's your pre-production, post-production?
My post-production, I'm spending a lot more on post-production than I realized. Getting a sound designer and time-wise as well, like dubbing scenes which doesn't have good audio that is wrong fundamentally, like dialogue that's wrong. Doing things with VFX artists abroad, and then after all of that, then it's marketing and doing everything for the film,
distribution, all that.
So I think I'd like to think that that'd come under post-production.
Yeah.
Getting the posters made, etc. But time is money, and it's like, I think that's the biggest thing where like people don't sort of realize this, and there's so much time, and if you allocate it well, it's the idea of sacrifice. It's a fundamental thing, you sacrifice current pleasures and for hard work, and then you can reap greater pleasures in the future, and that's a fundamental goal of, I guess, the whole filmmaking process as well. It's just a lot of time and sacrifice, time, money, and sacrifice, and you just hope that the product at the end is better for it, and it'll give you a lot more satisfaction and rewards. And I guess that's not just for filmmaking, but for every profession and every hobby and everything. It's very relevant.
100%. Yeah. I thought at the beginning that when I was gonna stop filming, even after watching you work and everything, I thought at the beginning I would finish my film and then zip zap zoom, I'll edit quickly, 2 months, 3 months. I had some idea of how long it would take to edit because of your film, but I was like, oh, it'll be done not so long. You definitely don't expect to spend more time in post-production than you did pre-production, because you spend so much time in
You
pre-production. You think, oh, everything is sorted out, I'm all ready to go, all I need to do is it's very clear set of instructions, and then it's like, no, it doesn't stop there. When the day you wrap is the beginning of another journey into post-production, which is just as much as a beast, if not a bigger beast than pre-production.
Yeah, that's how I feel like my post-production's gone on for a year, and like pre-production, writing the script, getting the film made, that was
the easy
that
part.
was a year,
Yeah.
And then no, it's actually been 2 years since I wrapped, and it's like those 2 years have flown by, and it's, you can make excuses with life, but like, oh, if this didn't happen to me, I would have had the film finished, or etc. But yeah, there's only so many excuses.
But that speaks a lot to, as a filmmaker, you finish your product, and because you have the expectation that it's done, if you don't have the money to send it off to an editor, send it off to a color gradist, send it off to a sound designer, and you have to do everything yourself, especially in the micro budget world, what you don't realize is because you told your body this nightmare would be over, because at that point it becomes a nightmare. You end up like not slacking off, but like putting it off and trying to do other things to find the strength to go back to it and work on it. And there's many examples out there of filmmakers who did micro budget films and did everything themselves, who spent 10 years on finishing their films because either they were working 2 jobs or they were shooting it every weekend, and when they finally wrapped, they had no money and they had to wait 2 years for the money to come in for post-production because they didn't know how to do something, they didn't have the time to learn. So it is a massive beast, and I cannot even fathom the amount of projects out there, films that have been finished and wrapped but never released because they couldn't tackle this mountain that is post-production.
I think like pre-production, post-production are very important steps and overlooked steps to filmmaking, and these steps require a lot of care, attention and time, and you can't slack on either of those or any of those.
And you might look at videos and people online constantly being on set and thinking that's the filmmaking life. It's not.
Yeah.
Most of it is behind a computer answering emails, or behind the computer working on an edit, and these are almost bigger parts. And
it's like those videos on TikTok where it's like, oh yeah, look at this product photo shoot I've done, or this little video advert I've done for this product. They show like, them filming it, and it's all nice, and it's like, it's very quick, and I think that's the illusion. Right? It's like, I watched them do this in 1 minute or 30 seconds. I can do it. It looks easy, and it's like, no, there's what they didn't include in that video was them sat in front of a computer screen, color grading, putting it all together,
doing some
using
VFX shots.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, that's
syncing the music.
That's a lot of time and effort, and it's the same like in film. You see Hollywood films, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. I want to watch that. I want to be in that film. How great would it be to be chased by dinosaurs on a scooter? And it's like, yeah, man, but you be the assistant director on that production, you're losing your hair. So it's
and they don't show the people making the dinosaurs behind their screens for months on end. They show the fun roles and the fun parts, but even actors have like not fun parts.
Even down to the BTS of that, where it's like, oh, here's how we made it. Isn't this fun? And it's like, oof, no, like you made it look fun. Congratulations. I think like
once you know it's
when you
not fun.
see the Tarantino, I'm losing my voice. When you see the Tarantino BTS, and he's like, why are we doing this? Because we love making movies. And it's like, dude, if you truly loved making movies, you wouldn't have to say that.
He's doing it, but he's doing it to encourage the people on set. But I bet when he's in the editing room, he's not like slapping his editor in the back and be like, why do we edit? Because we love making movies. It's more like, oh, how are you today? Okay, don't. And just drinking coffee and standing there for months on end just talking.
But it's also like, I don't know what I was saying. Like if they really loved making movies, they wouldn't have to say that. Because you'd love making movies. It's like, what are we breathing? Oxygen. Because we love being alive. It's like, no, you don't have to say that every time you're alive. It's just like, they only say that because they don't love making movies at that current point in time. Okay, everyone's fucking dead.
Miserable.
Everyone's miserable. Everyone's like fucking deflated from waking up at 4 a.m. and going to set and then going home at like 2 a.m. and then waking up the next morning for 5. And it's
all
like,
that for 5 months straight.
And for 5 months straight, yeah. And it's like, yeah, obviously everyone's gonna fucking keel over and just lose faith, and that's why you have to constantly remind yourself that, you know, at the end product is a movie, and we love movies, and if you're truly passionate, then you love making it, even through the darkest days. And I think that's the key thing, you know, what you're saying about like people lose a lot of faith in post-production. Like people lose faith throughout the whole production, you know, like from pre to post and to distribution when the film's out, and you're like, and it's like if you're truly passionate about it, you just make another, and just keep on going, because it's like blue period, you know. You spend an hour, like a week or two doing this one painting, and you're like, okay, that's a great painting, I'm just gonna hang it on the wall, and that's it, that's the end of my painting career. It's like, nah, come on, what would the next painting bring? And the techniques that you learned on the previous painting, like, how are you going to apply them differently in the next? And then how are you going to evolve that style in the next? And just keep on going.
Yeah. So yeah, post-production is much more important, because post-production is, I want to say post-production is much more important because it's the phase where you have to survive it and get to the end of it for you to be able to experience all the good bits again. There's good bits in post-production, but it's
like when
such a mountain.
When an edit comes together, and you're like, nice, that flows.
But you have to get through every step of filmmaking, and post-production is, for me and for Chris, I'd say the hardest part of making movies, especially with lower budget. Of course, higher budgets, they can hire people to do that job.
An editor, and that'd just be like lovely. I mean, like,
but you have to be ready for that if you want to do a micro budget film, as you have to realize that this will be years in the making and years of your life. And
maybe not even years, but like, just realize, because like Willem, he's like, he's on it, and I doubt it'll be years, but like, you're a one-man army. You're going to be solely working on this at micro budget level. Don't expect to have editors and VFX artists and people at your beck and call. You're going to be working on that solo, and
you're going to get demoralized. There's days you're going to be like, I'm done.
There are going to be days where you're just like too busy to even work on it, and it's like, oh, it's fine, you know, that editing, that footage isn't going anywhere. And it's different because on production, it's like, no, you need to be on set this time, doing this. So,
yeah,
there's less of a routine, less of a, like, you have to be there. And I think that just adds so much onto it all. Like, if you just look at all of our hobbies and things that we like to do in our free time, you can't do any of that when you're on set. You can't do any of that when you're in production. You're too tired when you get back, or you have to do 10 other things when you get back.
You have to be able to juggle and get rid of, like, you have to be able to toss that mindset to the bin that the film is done when you wrap. Nobody claps when the film is wrapped.
Well, people do, but fuck them.
No, I was going to say, nobody claps, well, everybody claps when the film is done, but the director, especially in an independent micro-budget film, he's clapping, but he knows how much work he has left to do, and
Yeah.
you can't go into production thinking as a director, my job is done when I wrap.
And that's why I think rap parties are so like redundant.
Yeah.
It's like after we finish rapping, Raw comes and everyone's clapping and partying. And I was just there like,
This is just the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. This is just the beginning. And also, I still had shit to shoot. Like, well, I was planned to shoot it the week after, with like the pillow shots and all of the establishing shots. I shot that a year after, a whole year after the wrap of the fucking film, and that just goes to show, you know, life comes in, it will derail you, it will throw you new joys and new sadnesses.
You have to be disciplined enough with yourself to realize that when you rap, it's the beginning of your film.
Yeah.
And then you'll be in a better mindset to work, get it done faster than usual. And then at least you can live after that, rather than torture yourself over years, putting it off and putting it back on again, putting it off, putting it back on.
And saying this is like, it's sort of making me realize, like, even, who knows, like, even after the film's finished and then we get into the distribution stages, the festival circuit, all of that shit,
yeah,
then it's like, that's a new
then it's
challenge.
when the film starts.
That's another challenge starting, and you're just like, oh, and that's money.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the, so yeah, sure, I shot this film for like 7-8K. How much am I going to spend on festival submissions, advertising, all of that shit?
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big part of the budget as well.
How much time as well to research them, apply for them, go to the events themselves, participate. It is to me like years. A film will take years of your life because you're handling every aspect of it. And if you're conscious of that when you get into it, at least you won't have a bad surprise of realizing how much work you have to do. You'll just, from the beginning, you'll be like, I'm about to do the impossible and fail miserably. And you know that if you don't and you manage to get through, good on you, that's wonderful. But you know, I would hate to set up expectations to fail. But at least if you're prepared for the impossible task that is making a film on your own, technically, you can be better prepared, like physically, mentally, for that.
You know, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people give up. So don't give up.
Don't give up. Stay strong.